Well, I think we'll get started. I bet we'll have some folks joining us, but welcome everybody. It is my deep honor and pleasure to be welcoming you all to the 2022 Hawai'i Organic Seed Summit. This is an event a long time in the making. There's been many permutations of this that were going to happen in person because of COVID and on a smaller scale. And I think really in the end, this is a blessing in disguise that we've ended up in this virtual platform because we're reaching out to so many of you. And we're so excited to be connecting with so many people. Some of you we're already connected with, many of you it's the first time probably that we're connecting. So before we get started, I just wanted to give a quick little introduction, and if you all will indulge me in reflecting and reminiscing a little bit. My name is Jay Bost, and I was until very recently the farm coach with GoFarm Hawai'i and Waimanalo, and have also been very active with the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. And those are kind of my latest chapters in a long life of being active in the organic seed community, which is a really, really beautiful community. I already know some of you from that community, and those of you who maybe are new to the organic seed community, welcome. It's just such a wonderful, welcoming place full of really wonderful, caring and sharing people. I came to Hawaii about 10 years ago and came to do some graduate work at CTAR, and I had the good fortune to end up in the lab of Dr. Richard Manshart, who I see is on here with us, papaya breeder, and was lucky to meet through that Gabe Sachter Smith here in the middle in a rare moment of not touching bananas, but touching jicamas in this case. And through Gabe, learned about the Student Organic Seed Symposium, which is a great gathering that happens, bringing folks together and studying organic seed breeding. The Organic Seed Growers Conference happens every 2 years. The first time I went to that was 2006, and have been many, many times over the years. And then when I landed in Hawaii, through Gabe and others, learned about the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative and was fortunate enough to get involved with the Train the Trainer workshop that they had and meet wonderful and inspiring folks like Nancy Redfeather and Lynn Howe and Glenn Teves. And you'll be hearing from those folks today and hearing a little bit more about the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative. After leaving my studies in graduate school, I was again very fortunate to start working with GoFarm Hawai'i and Waimanalo. And part of the reason I came to Hawaii was really an interest in improving food security on tropical islands. I had spent some time in St. Croix in the Caribbean, and Hawaii was a place that just really kept coming up for me. And obviously, I think we're all on board that we need more farmers. And so that's what GoFarm is here to do, is to train more farmers. And as we got further into training those farmers, it became obvious that those farmers need good seed to grow that's well adapted, has, is marketable, is interesting, and especially has good disease resistance. And so we started really putting a lot of effort into teaching seed work in GoFarm Hawai'i, and we developed some seed growing curriculum that we'll be sharing with you all. As GoFarm's work with seed developed, we started bridging with our connections that I had and others had earlier with Organic Seed Alliance, and Organic Seed Alliance came out in 2018 and put on a workshop on farm breeding. We put on 2 wonderful events on Oahu, the culinary with the Culinary Breeding Network. And we'll share these booklets with you, which are great little compilations of all sorts of interesting work happening here in the state. And we kept doing variety trials, collaborating with folks whose work was highlighted in the variety showcases. And a more recent collaboration is a number of students from GoFarm and others participating in Organic Seed Alliance's Organic Seed Production course. And you'll be hearing from some of those folks today. So Hawaii has a really important role, I would argue, to play in seed. It has a very robust history of research and breeding, both by breeders at the university and by farmers making selections on farm. And this is Dr. Jim Brubaker here on the right, who was a longtime legendary breeder who recently passed away. And he wrote this publication, Crop Improvement in Hawaii, Past, Present, and Future, which we'll share with you, which is some really interesting history on breeding here in Hawaii. And then there's also a PowerPoint that we will share with you all, both on the Organic Seed Commons and later through email by Hector Valenzuela, that has some more great history of breeding in Hawaii. And then it's a little bit hard to see, but down here on the left is Glenn Teves's great newsletter, the Molokai New Farmer Training Newsletter, where he has written some really great articles about the history of breeding, especially of tomatoes, but also other crops in Hawaii that we will share with you. So we have this history of breeding and seed, and obviously seed today is a hugely important thing in Hawaii, whether you realize it or not. Here on the left, we've got the top 20 agricultural commodities from 2020, and seed crops is more than double the next crop, which is macadamia nuts. $107 million was generated by seed. That's big seed. That's seed that's not necessarily serving the needs of growers in Hawaii and is not being consumed in Hawaii. And so I think that there is, we've shown that there's a lot of potential, and I think there is a lot more potential for smaller seed, or I've been thinking about it as Pono seed, growing seed that ends up staying in Hawaii, that either goes to the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. We've got folks starting to do seed contracts with folks like Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, who want things grown in Hawaii that have a very long season to mature to seed, and that are hard to produce on the mainland, but folks can actually grow the crop to get it to its edible point on the mainland. And then just as the big seed companies are sending their things out to Hawaii for winter nurseries, there's a lot of potential working with organic breeders and small independent breeders for growers like many of you on this call to do winter nurseries. And we've done some of that with Commonwealth Seed, which is in Virginia. They'll send their things out. We grow the seed, we harvest the seed, we get to eat all the squash, or the cucumbers are a bit past, but the squash. So the food stays here, then the seed goes back to other projects. And then of course we have the UH Seed Lab. I came upon this recently in Seed Savers Exchange Seed Trade Census, which is I think every 3 to 5 years, they look at all of the basically open pollinated seeds available in the country, who's selling them. And I was very happy and surprised to see that in their ranking of seed companies or folks selling seed, the University of Hawaii Seed Program ranked the highest on the list for this conservation index. And that means people offering something that's not offered by anyone else, and for offering that continuously. And so I think sometimes some of us feel like, oh, the Seed Lab never offers anything new, but they're playing a role by offering the varieties developed by these breeders that were mentioned before and you all can learn more about, and also by farmers like the Tolentino eggplant, the Koba green onion, the Hirayama Kai Choi. Those are all farmer selections. So if you're not familiar with the Seed Lab, please get familiar with it and support it. And it needs both your financial support and your political support. I think it's fair to say that Hawaii, as an epicenter of tropical breeding, has waned a bit. And I think we've probably been eclipsed by Southeast Asia and Taiwan. This is the World Vegetable Center, which I had the pleasure to visit a few years ago at the urging of Glenn Teves. And I really encourage you to check out the World Vegetable Center. Tons of great resources, good videos on seed saving, an amazing seed bank. And then there's a link down here to a really sweet and fun, nice video kind of highlighting some of their work. And they have some great newsletters you can sign up to follow. I reflect actually quite a lot about something that Dr. Manshart said in a breeding class that I took with him probably 9 years ago, which was basically that we, in breeding and variety selection, it's all about eyes on the plants. And as there are fewer and fewer folks growing plants, we have fewer and fewer people noticing the subtle variation in the plants that we need to see. And we're putting our crop development in the hands of fewer and fewer breeders. I think for seed to continue to move forward in Hawaii, where we don't have especially robust breeding programs anymore, and we're not a big commercial market, we need lots of hands and eyes on our crops trying to develop things that are suitable for here, noticing subtle variations. And that's where all of you that are joining us today come in. We need you guys to help us in this effort to notice crops and develop crops and save crops that are good for here. So I want to end by just giving some mahalos to the folks that have made this meeting possible. I want to thank the USDA's Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Program, which funds GoFarm, and it also funded the seed production course that many of the folks that you'll hear from today took, and it's actually also funding this meeting, and it's why it's free. The USDA and the Department of Agriculture's Specialty Crops Block Grant has been instrumental into the development of the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. That's your tax money doing good work. I'd like to thank GoFarm Hawai'i, Organic Seed Alliance, the old and new growers who you'll be hearing from today of the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. We'll also be hearing from some great presenters from CTAR, Oregon State University, and Leeward Community College. I'd like to thank Rebecca Korinsky Woods of Organic Seed Alliance, who's helping us with all of the technology, making this less stressful and successful. So thank you, Rebecca. And really just to the organic seed community more broadly, who has been such a great network, and I've made some of my best friends and collaborators through my life through seed work, and want to thank all of you all for being here today and being interested in seed. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I think Rebecca is going to put up quickly some kind of shared agreements. The Organic Seed Alliance recently had a virtual Organic Seed Growers Conference, which we'll share information with you about. And these came from that. And so I'd just like everyone to keep these in mind for the next 2 days, that you're going to speak for yourselves. We're going to make space for others. We're going to be as present as possible. We're going to try to be aware of who is missing in each of our conversations. Remember that no one has a monopoly on truth and that everyone's experience is valid. critique ideas, not people, listen to our bodies and tend to their needs, give some grace for technical and logistical difficulties, and aim for connection, not perfection. So I hope that is agreeable to everyone. And with that, I have the pleasure to introduce Nancy Redfeather, who I think it is fair to say is one of the godmothers of the local seed movement here in Hawaii, as well as school garden network in Hawaii. And she's going to give us some of the history of the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative and the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. So please welcome Nancy Redfeather. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much, Jay, and certainly to OSA for all of their help for this. I'm going to be kind of reminiscing and reflecting also, because that's what this journey has been about. I'm really impressed with the really diverse group that showed up today to listen to our stories, and I hope these stories will inspire you to continue your seed work. I know some of you may be teachers looking for work to do with your students. Some of you may be growers looking to expand your seed work, diversify your farm plan, find varieties that work for you. So I hope that in our conversations over the next 2 days, we can inspire you to continue building upon the work that you've already started. So we know that our Earth is experiencing right now a lot of unprecedented changes. We have the pandemic, of course, climate change, and unsettling geopolitics have highlighted the emerging challenges that farmers and food systems are facing, not only here in Hawaii, but all around the world. Recently, it's been highlighted that our global food chain that Hawaii depends upon for our daily food and basically everything we need is broken. And it seems to me that locally produced seed is kind of that first step in that long global food chain. It's the first link and the last link. But we know that for thousands of years, Hawaii was food secure. We have everything we need here for a robust food and agriculture system. We have soil, sun, water, fast recycling of nutrients. But in some cases, we lack certain knowledge and experience and will, especially at some of our institutional levels. As Jay was saying, the University of Hawaii was a longtime world leader in subtropical agriculture, but for the past 50 years has been just slowly stepping back from that position of seed and plant breeding. But today, I have good news. There is a renewed interest in emerging programs, and it's mostly coming from Extension, but also from other parts of the College of Tropical Agriculture. And our seed lab still serves all of Hawaii's growers. So I just, I'm wondering, I know you can't all tell me right now, but hopefully these things will come out over the next couple of days, is why are you here and what has brought you to be here today? Because each one of us have a seed story to tell. The story I'm going to tell right now is just, it starts out with my own personal story, but it definitely is a story that could be anybody's story, especially people who are as old as I am. So my story starts in 1994 when I'm sitting in John Jevons' class. In fact, that's me sitting in the front. This is like 30 years ago. I'm sitting so daintily, aren't I? Okay. So I'm sitting in this class and John says, hey, I just read this new report by the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. And it's saying that by 2005, 95% of all seed varieties that were grown in 1900 are going to be either extinct or unavailable. So I was shocked. Until that point, I had been a gardener for, I don't know, probably 20 years already, but I had always bought my seed at basically the local nursery. So I hadn't really thought about where seed came from. And that day, I realized that these seeds that he was talking about, these were the seeds that our ancestors brought to Hawaii. These were the seeds that fed all those families of people who came, who came to America, ancestors who came to America, ancestors from 1900 to the present. These were the varieties that fed their families. These were the Native American varieties. And to think that 95% of them was going to be gone by 2005 was indeed shocking. So I just want to bring up this, although this is easily available on the internet, but you know, the National Geographic went and took a look at the USDA seed vault in Fort Collins, Colorado in 2011. And indeed, they did find that all varieties had drastically reduced. Over in the left column there, there's just a few of the many varieties, but this is available and you can check that out on the internet. That's our USDA seed vault in Fort Collins. And then that same year, the Seed Savers Exchange put out their yearbook, which they put out every 5 years. It had about 21,000 listings of vegetables, fruits, and grains. It's a really cool book. It tells about every variety that's available in the United States and which seed companies have it. And so this book of 460 pages and 21,000 listings was 3 to 5% of the total varieties that were available in 1900. And then, of course, by the time I even realized that seed was something that I should be aware of and I should start saving seed myself, the great seed buyout had already happened. So the 4 large life science companies had began buying up all of the small seed companies after the US Supreme Court made its decision in Chakrabarty versus Diamond in 1980, which said that it would be okay for life to be patented. So if it's okay for life to be patented, that means seed and plant varieties and animals and whatever, they can be patented and owned too. So the more seed genetics you have, the better it would be for your products. So today, or a couple of years ago, there's basically 4 companies that own most of the seed genetics and the patents on seed. So you've got the Bayer Monsanto, Dow and DuPont have pretty much joined to make Corteva. Syngenta and merged with ChemChina and then sold off its seed resources to BASF. So all of the heirloom and all of the open seed varieties, unpatented, are the 34%. I'm going to skip these 2. So the good news is that when you look at a map of the world of where all the origins of the plants come from, and I think there's 85 different centers of origin, Hawaii can grow almost all of these except for some of the grains and some of the stone fruits. So the amount of diversity that we can grow here is just enormous. And of course, we have such lovely places to grow. So after I started saving seed myself for about 10 years with my kids, I was a kindergarten teacher and a school garden teacher at the Waldorf School in Kona. And I realized it just wasn't going to be enough. Seed was disappearing at a rapid rate by the year 2000. So about 2002, I started talking with Alvin Yoshinaga. He was the seed ecologist from Manoa CTAR, and he had started the seed lab at Lyons. And so he and I kind of cooked up this idea of having seed festivals in Kona. My kumo Keala Ching joined, and so for 8 years, the 3 of us put on a big seed festival in Kona. And, sometimes 500-600 people would come. It was a whole day of education around seed saving. And of course, we had a big seed exchange. But what I learned after 8 years was that it wasn't enough, because every year the same people came back with seed to give. And the number of people who were starting to save seed was not growing. So we had a big opportunity happen in 2009 when I joined the Koala Center as a program director of some programs in 2006. And the Organic Research and Education Initiative of the USDA that year in 2009 put out a grant for a seed symposium that would be put on statewide. So I wrote for that grant and received it, called Michaela Coley at Organic Seed Alliance, and asked her if she would be willing to come to Hawaii with her team to do some of our education. And then a lot of people from CTAR stepped up. Also Kamehameha Schools gave funding, County of Hawaii. And so UH Extension joined us, Regenerations Botanicals from Kauai, Paul Massey, and the Kohala Center. And we put on a 2-day seed symposium in Kona that was attended by about 130 farmers. Hector Valenzuela did a really wonderful baseline survey of everyone who came to that conference. So Jay will put that link in the chat, and there's other links he will put in the chat too about the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative. So the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative actually started because we needed a program in order to have a symposium. And I had read a lot about Cornell's Public Seed Initiative. I was really impressed with it. So we chose that name, and Huakahua, which was the name of this conference, means to restore our seed. So this was our final working group of 25 people that emerged from that conference. You can see our CTAR folks over on the right-hand side, lots of people you probably recognize. So then in 2012, Lynn Howe became the director of the Hawaii Public Seed Initiative, and all of these different programs ensued from her amazing direction, which I'll just speak briefly about. The first thing we did was this little group here, Hector and Lynn and me and Paul and Glenn and Russell, we toured around the state for about 3 years, putting on 2 to 3 day workshops for farmers and gardeners. And it was called Seed Basics. And we basically just went over all aspects of seed production. So we went to Kauai, we're hosted by Generations. We went to Molokai. On Oahu, we had a really special day with Dr. Brubaker. Maui with the Pellegrino family and Jerry Ross at his farm. Hawaii Island, Amy Greenwell. And so then there was this Train the Trainers workshop that Jay referred to, which was a 3-day workshop where we brought 42 people that had emerged from those other workshops statewide that stood up and said, I want to be a seed leader here in the state. And I want to organize seed workshops and maybe seed exchanges or seed education for my island. So, there were so many things we did. Like this is Dr. Brubaker's cold room, which, I will never forget. We got to meet with Anna Peach for a day. So then we just went around and started doing workshops with our seed resources in Hawaii. This is the beautiful NRCS Resource Center, the Seed Resource Center on Molokai for conservation. We did lots of workshops, hands-on. We went to seed exchanges. For 5 years, I had a student seed exchange program in Kona where I worked with 5 schools. And every year they would come to the Amy Greenwell Garden of 5 schools and they would share seed with each other and we'd have a big dinner. It's pretty amazing. We gave lots of workshops. There's Glenn giving one on eggplant, Russell. And then, of course, we would have our seed retreats. Every year, we would get together and plan strategies of what's the next step? What's the next step? And of course, when we got together, we'd have our own seed exchange. So in 2014, then we formed the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. And for the first few years, we did lots of variety trials, the small group of us. This was the original group of people who farmed. Evan, from left to right, Evan Ryan and Danielle Dutra, Glenn and Jane Teves, myself, Bertan, and Michelle and Jay. And so I'll just briefly say that we're a statewide group of artisanal farmers who have worked together for many years to grow, develop, and bring high quality, locally grown and adapted seed to Hawaii's gardeners and market farmers. And we invite you to join our mission to serve Hawaii's growers and help our statewide community food system, creating resilience and biodiversity. So in 2018, then, we had a chance to write for a specially crop block grant, which Jace talked about. And I just have to give a big shout out to our Department of Agriculture, because they have been behind us the whole way to start a seed company and a online seed network, online seed marketplace for the growers of Hawaii. And then Michelle Carrillo became our manager in 2019. And in January 2019, we launched our marketplace. And just give a big shout out to Arthur and Lynn, Arthur Dodge and Lynn, for creating our website and all the educational materials that we had been using. Oops. Yeah, so from 2014 to the present, our growers have been growing in number, and we just continue as growers to do trials and partner with people inside and outside the state. In 2020, we became an LLC with 5 equal members. And in 2021, we created the Hawaii cohort for the 2nd OSA production course. A big mahalo to our amazing Hawaii Island Seed Bank crew. Without them, this actually would not be possible. And in the future, it looks like we're going to be adding new growers, new varieties, new research, new outreach, and developing new partners. So mahalo to all of you for coming, and I look forward to meeting you over the next few days.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We have Michaela Colley here with us, who Nancy mentioned that was at that first meeting. We're just wondering, Michaela, if you want to reflect any on your years now of watching and interacting with seed here in Hawaii.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Boy, I live on the really big island, as my native Hawaiian friend said, instead of calling it the mainland. We were so honored. It's not very hard to convince a bunch of people from the really big island to come to Hawaii for a conference in the middle of winter. And we had developed a relationship with Nancy, Glenn, and others over the years of you all visiting the Organic Seed Growers Conference. So when we came, we were invited as the seed experts to come and impart our knowledge and help initiate this collective movement to reconnect with seed in Hawaii, or to, not that everybody had lost connection, but to strengthen that connection. And I have to say, it was extremely humbling. All of our programs at Organic Seed Alliance have a highly participatory approach and philosophy that our collective knowledge is more than the sum of its parts. And coming to Hawaii, that definitely rang true more than ever before. There is so much history, cultural connection with your food pathways, climatic influence on seed and food that is very different than the environment where we live. And I think one of the inspiring things in reflecting back over this time is that from a distance, I see Hawaii as this beautiful case study that I'm an optimist, just like Nancy, that yes, Hawaii has so many challenges in being dependent on imports of food and seed, and that can feel very scary and very real and very fragile. But it also is why there's so much awareness of the interconnectedness of the community and the importance of seed sovereignty and food sovereignty. When we work and teach in a lot of places, it's very easy to take for granted that there's a ready supply of seed coming from seed companies that are breeding for your region, perhaps. And so watching this progression over time is just really inspiring to see both those seed networks strengthening and developing. And I think that the duality of having some of those challenges that you face is also at the heart of the resilience of the movement in Hawaii, and really an inspiration for the innovative approaches that you all have taken. So it's certainly been a co-learning process, and it's exciting to see all of the new pathways for knowledge exchange that you're inventing that are inspiring work that we're doing elsewhere as well. So really appreciative and very grateful for all of the energy that you've brought to this work, Nancy, over your time. And I know you haven't done it alone, but I know you've been on that pathway for a long time. So thank you.
Thanks, Michaela. I think we'll hear a bit more from Michaela at the end of the day today about some learning resources for you all. We're going to jump now over to Michelle Carrillo, who Nancy mentioned is a grower for the Hawaii Seed Growers Network, and also has become our business manager, ringleader, herder, who's going to tell us a bit more about the sort of near past and present and near future of the Hawaii Seed Growers Network.
Aloha, everyone. So great to see all of you here today in support of local seed. And thank you, Nancy, for that beautiful capture of the history of Hawaii Public Seed Initiative leading up to the Hawaii Seed Growers Network. So I'm going to share my screen here and tell you what's going on today. Oh, wasn't the right one. There we go. The Hawaii Seed Growers Network developed as a result of the increased awareness and the lack of open pollinated vegetable seeds bred for the diverse microclimates of Hawaii. Our work together grew from our common ground as dedicated growers, passionate about the value of seed and the significant need for seeds developed for Hawaii's various microclimates. Having received generous support from the Kohala Center, our early founding members officially organized as an LLC in 2018 with the mission of providing local farmers and gardeners across the state with access to quality, resilient, and locally adapted seed. Our LLC consists of 5 equal members, each of whom are dedicated farmers and gardeners with farms that we have diversified with our seed-saving mission. Our diverse team meets on a monthly basis to manage day-to-day business and plan for strategic growth. We have 2 advisors that join in on our calls, UHCTAR Extension Agent Glenn Tevis and the Kohala Center INA Director Melanie Willich. Our advisors provide support with crop and variety selections, technical assistance, and industry access. We have received a tremendous amount of support from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and we do want to thank Sharon Hurd for her continuous support and faith in us to develop a local seed business. We started the online marketplace to support our mission of providing access to quality, resilient, and locally adapted seed with a handful of varieties that had been reliable, staple crops grown by and relied upon by our founding members. During our first 2 years of sales in 2018 and 2019, we saw seed sales total $9,000 with 2,250 seed packets going out to local home gardeners during those first 2 years. A few of our early varieties were Costa Cukes, an open pollinated hardy cucumber that Evan had brought back from Costa Rica, nutrient dense Sunga mustard that Clint Tevis had brought a Zimbabwe staple, industry standard Alan Chadwick pole beans and California black-eyed peas from Nancy. We had Roselle hibiscus, pigeon peas, Eli bush beans, critical staples for every Hawaiian home garden. Those were brought to the marketplace by Daniela, and Ka'ala and Hawaiian sunray peppers from Lynn Howe. During those early years, our growers were focusing on increasing seed, performing grow outs, trialing new varieties, and today we have reached over 75 varieties available on the marketplace. But at that time, we were inputting orders by hand and hand counting which crop varieties sold with each sale for inventory tracking. In March 2020, we saw an enormous upswing in orders as local folks worried and got concerned about food shortages, began thinking about growing food in their home gardens. Lynn was still providing oversight from Colorado, and she had her notifications set on her computer and her phone with each sale to be notified. And I remember her calling me, trying to find that invisible toggle switch to turn it off because her phone wouldn't stop dinging around the clock. So during those 2 months of March and April of 2020, we sold over 3,500 seed packets. So that's 1,000 more seed packets than we had sold in the previous 2 years. During this time, we worked around the clock to get our software updated and the marketplace connected with a shipping system that would allow the Hawaii Island Seed Bank to see all of our orders without us having to hand put each and every sale. All the while getting this massive amount of seeds packaged up and shipped into the hands of our local communities. Of course, we didn't know whether sales would continue at this rate, and we were very concerned about how our supply would hold up. And so at that point, we stopped selling seeds outside of the state of Hawaii in order to focus on and support local food security. By July of 2020, our monthly sales stabilized, and we've seen a consistent gross sales averaging $4,500 per month. That's 900 seed packets being sold each month. And in the last 2 years during this COVID era, we have delivered over 25,000 seed packets to local home gardeners, resulting in an 894% increase from our baseline sales. To help meet this need for this increased demand of locally grown seed, we have focused on bringing up new seed growers to help build the network and build a more diverse variety offerings and a stable inventory supply. Jay and Nancy are heading up our mentorship program and have been working directly with 7 new seed growers to produce 18 crop varieties that are currently for sale in the marketplace. And we are continuing to seek new growers who are active gardeners or farmers, including experiencing growers who have crop varieties that they save and regrow, or growers new to seed saving that are ready to take their skills to the next level by incorporating seed saving into their farms and gardens. Many of our new farmers have come out of the GoFarm beginner training program, and others have come from relationships with long-standing community members. Our membership program offers direct one-on-one support from one of our experienced seed growers, and we provide new growers with foundation seed, technical assistance, and an outlet, of course, for their sales. Our business plan is organized so that payment for seed is made on a consignment basis based on quarterly sales, but 2021 closed with a profit for Hawaii Seed Growers Network, And so we turned that profit over to our new seed growers, purchasing outright all of the seeds they had contributed to support and enhance their continued growth of their seed saving operation at their individual farms. Last year, we paid our seed growers just over $30,000. And while this is a relatively modest number, we are thrilled to be able to make this contribution to the economy of our local seed producers. To get involved with us as a new seed grower, we have an application which Rebecca's going to add into the chat box for you. You can fill that out and send it back to me at hawaiiseedgrowersnetwork@gmail.com. From there, you're going to be contacted by one of our growers, hopefully one on the same island as you, and we work together to assess your growing experience, see what type of education you need to get you up and producing seed. For those growers who don't have direct experience seed saving, we have partnered with Organic Seed Alliance to support basic seed saving and increase your skills through their organic seed production online course. Last year, we had 8 Hawaii growers go through the program, and this year there are 9 Hawaii growers signed up to participate. Unfortunately, registration for this year is currently closed. But this is an annual course that's going to be happening each year, and you can find more information about the organic seed production annual course through this another link that Rebecca's going to put in the chat box for you. Last year, we supported multiple community projects with local seed, including the Feast Project. This is a project that was under the management of Eco-Literacy Director Ming-Wei Ko, and we provided over 2,000 seed packets to toolkits that were aimed at increasing project-based learning for homeschool keiki. We delivered over 400 seed packets of easy-to-grow leafy greens to Kamehameha schools to support their Eat Local challenge. And we supported Mala'ai School Garden with 75 seed packets for their educational event, Growing Fast Foods and Weeds You Can Eat. We have also provided multiple free seed packets to various school gardens and nonprofit organizations, and are planning to apply for a grant this year that would allow us to work directly with local neighborhood and community nonprofit organizations, delivering education and seed toolkits free of charge to our most vulnerable communities in an effort to reduce food's insecurity and encourage families and communities to grow food together, building our local food production and increasing families and community members' time spent together in the garden. This presentation would not be complete without sharing about our partnership with the Hawaii Island Seed Bank. We are very fortunate to work with Jill Wagner, the Hawaii Island Seed Bank, and her staff, who ensure that our seeds are thoroughly dried before storage. She sends samples to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture for germination testing. They package, properly store our dried seed, and prepare individual seed packets for shipping. The seed bank also works with native seed, providing important conservation work and protecting genetic diversity. So next, we're going to show you a video that we made just recently at the Hawaii Island Seed Bank with Jill Wagner and Robin Yamamoto. And I do just want to take a moment to express my appreciation for these two ladies and their deep dedication to preserving local seeds and protecting the resiliency of our local food, conservation, and forest systems.
we have a team, an engineering team, and they are overseeing the build of these seed banks. And so when a partner gets a seed bank, they get everything that you see here, all the cabinetry, all these racks, the equipment, it's all set up so that everything you need to bank seeds is included. The refrigerators, these refrigerators can hold 5 to 10 million seeds, depending on the size of the seed. So you can collect and store, and if you're growing and cycling, you can do a lot of seeds. And it comes with all the equipment, so we train people, we have a training program, and we walk through the step-by-step process so people can see how to properly bank seeds, because it changes the longevity of the seed. You can see there's 100%, and when it gets down to 20%, the generator automatically kicks on.
And this is the battery down here?
These are the batteries.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, we went to the Glasgow COP26 conference in Scotland in November, and one of the things we did was hosted an event called the Art of Forests, and we invited 60 of the largest tree planting organizations in the world. 30 were present and 30 were online. And what we learned is that the largest tree planting organizations are planting just a handful of species. As you scale projects, it's easier to reduce your species. And so if people are really concerned, which they are, about climate change and about the warming, they want to do things fast, and we have to do that. But we can't reduce our biodiversity, because if we do, the next generation they won't have resiliency. These are what scientists call brittle ecosystems. They don't have any resiliency. We need to have that whole community of species, and we need to save our regional crops, both food crops and native species. So that's what our focus is on, and really wanting to help people collect and bank seeds. That's our mission.